So I have a question. Do you actually know what you've eaten today? Like for real, have you actually stopped and paid attention to food labels? And if so, do you actually know how to read food labels? I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of people don't really know what's in the food they're eating because it's so confusing. And most people in this day and age, food companies are pretty smart. They put things on food that say things like smart food or healthy choice or whatever that is. And as soon as you see those labels, your brain thinks, oh, health food, I can eat that. But guess what? Not really. So we want to actually break that code for you. What's healthy and what's not healthy, because it matters for your brain, believe it or not. Why does it matter for your brain? Because if the foods you're eating are not healthy for you, if they've got these certain ingredients in them, they are triggering inflammation. If it's causing inflammation in your body, it's causing inflammation in your brain. And Alzheimer's disease is now referred to as type 3 diabetes. So what's not good for your body is not good for your brain. What's not good for your brain is not good for your body. But more than that, if it's affecting your brain, the foods you eat, it's not like what you eat today is affecting you a month from now. Believe it or not, what you eat this morning affects you this afternoon. So if you eat something in the morning that's not good for you, it affects your blood sugar. You go on this roller coaster. It affects your inflammation. It actually affects your frontal lobe. So you don't make as good of decisions. And as soon as you start that negative decision making, you're not making good decisions, you have brain fog, that starts this negative loop of making bad decisions. And so it's hard to get off of that roller coaster. Likewise, when you make the right decisions, you eat the right foods and you don't have brain fog, that's a positive feedback loop. So now you continue that progress. So let's take a look really quickly at food labels. So really simple. I want to break this code. Did God make it? If God made it, eat it, right? It's that pretty simple. Can you pronounce it? Because most of these labels have chemicals in them that are just crazy long. And if you can't pronounce it, it's probably a good indication that maybe you should at least think twice or do some research on it to see if it's good for you. 5 ingredients or less usually means it's pretty safe. If it's got more ingredients, make sure the ingredients are something pretty wholesome. Usually if it's a whole bunch of ingredients, it's not quite as wholesome. Would your grandmother recognize it as food? That's a really important one because our food has changed so much over the last 100 years. And notice that along with that big change in food processing and food storage and chemicals in food, so has our disease. So the rate of disease and the rate of chronic illness has skyrocketed along with our food supply. So now, what do you want to watch out for and keep out of your food? Always, of course, first thing, look for sugar, and a special kind of sugar, fructose. Fructose is different than other sugar. Fructose is toxic. It's toxic to your liver. You want to pay attention to that. It can actually cause non-alcoholic fatty liver. So watch out for fructose. I don't care if it's organic, and that's the big trick with these healthy foods. Organic, cane this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, forget that. It doesn't matter. If it's organic and it's got too much sugar in it, it's going to hurt you. It hurts your liver and it jacks up your blood sugar and your insulin, which damages not only your body but your brain. So when you are talking about packaged foods, make sure none is great, less is better, less is more. And like when I'm traveling, I make sure it definitely doesn't have over 5 grams. So I try to get none, but definitely less than 5 grams. Watch for things like natural flavoring. Natural flavoring doesn't always mean it's bad, but it's a really good way to hide things. Things like MSG. Believe it or not, MSG doesn't have to be labeled. It can be hidden within things like natural flavorings. So you want to pay attention. You can actually oftentimes get that information by calling the company or emailing them. And I have a really good example of this. We make our own protein powder, which I'm really proud of. It's super clean. And I've been really frustrated we can't get our vanilla for some reason. I don't know why vanilla is so much harder to get than chocolate. The chocolate was no problem. But we finally got the vanilla, and we have really strict quality control, which is why I like our protein powder. And when it came to us, it had natural flavorings, but not something they broke down and disclosed to us, which is unusual. So first thing, of course, we did, which we want you to do, we called the company and we said, what's up with the natural flavorings? And it had something in it we absolutely don't approve of. So now I'm out of protein powder for like months that I can't, actually provide to our customers because it had this natural flavoring thing that was hiding something that we don't like. So we want you to do the same thing and check on it. It's a quality control issue. So pay attention to that. Things like corn and soy. One of the problems with corn and soy, it creates inflammation. And people will always ask me, well, what about organic soy and organic corn, like real corn and real soy? It's not so bad if you're just having a little bit of the natural product. Corn is not a great product. It is a grain, it's not a vegetable, and it's got the worst fatty acid profile of any grain. But if you're eating a little bit of organic corn on the cob, not so bad. But it's all the packaged products that are the problem. And not just things that say corn on them, it's all the other products, okay? Everything has got either cornstarch, corn oil, corn syrup, corn something in it. And when you are overexposed to all these products with soy and corn, it's creating a lot of sensitivities and inflammation and things like that. So pay attention. You want to limit your exposure to those corn and soy products. They're inflammatory. So in fact, soy oil is like 53% omega-6 fatty acid, which is the inflammation-causing fatty acid. You want to be higher in your omega-3 oils. So avoid those. Then hydrogenated oil and trans fat. In fact, if it says hydrogenated, it's sort of code for trans fat. So if it says hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated is what you really want to watch out for. Avoid it. So this idea that we have no trans fat in our foods today, nonsense. We actually do have trans fats, and they don't have to label it. As long as they keep it at or below 1/2 gram per serving. But now think about it. How many servings are in a bag, and how often do you actually eat one serving? Because what they do is they cut the serving sizes down in order to squeeze more in. They get away with not labeling it as trans fat that way. So something that has maybe 4 or 5 servings, like some of those massive muffins you see at some of these bakeries and Starbucks and places like that, there's sometimes 4 or 5 servings. So you might be getting 2.5 grams of trans fat that doesn't have to be labeled. So pay attention to that. And we already talked about the cheap oils. So that's just a really quick decoding system, but I want to show you something. So this is what I was showing you. It says smart food, okay? But I'm not even going to read the label on this because it's corn, and it is a processed corn. So right away I know I don't want that one. But then here's one that's a little trickier. This has about 35 ingredients. It's a Fiber One bar. It's got like 35 ingredients. Right there, that's my first clue. Probably not what I want to choose, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the ingredients. I'm not going to read them all to you because number one, I can't pronounce most of them. But the other thing is it would bore you to death because they're just chemicals. But I'm going to read you just a few of the really clear ones, okay? So it's oats and chocolate chips, then blah, 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 then corn syrup, then canola oil, blah, 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 palm kernel oil, vegetable glycerin, blah, blah, corn starch, tricalcium phosphate, blah, blah, fructose, blah, blah. Okay, so now that's a health food. You see this and you think that's a health food. How many of you caught on to how many types of sugar are in there, including twice corn, syrup, and fructose, right? So avoid these things. You have to read labels to actually know that. But on the flip side, there are some great foods. And it doesn't mean there's no sugar in all of them, but I travel a lot, so I need things I can take with me that are great snacks. So here's one I like. It's a paleo granola. It's like a grainless granola. And it's got like 6 ingredients in it. So it's got almonds, coconut, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, coconut oil, and then the second to the last ingredient is honey, and then it's got vanilla. So there's 2 types. It's got 5 grams or 6 grams of sugar. I choose the one with 5 grams of sugar. So it's honey that they're using. So those are the things you want to pay attention to. And of course, always choose whole foods when you have the opportunity.